Hello, this is Shirish again. I thought I will go back to a little bit summarization and some of the salient points about the obesity, the weight loss, the diet, etc. In this particular video, I want to kind of touch base with you about the glycemic index. A lot of times people have talked about glycemic index and its effect on the body weight or gaining the body weight. So to understand glycemic index, one has to understand that it is the elevation of blood glucose that is done by amount required. The scientific definition, of course, is much more detailed. The only thing which I can point out to you for common understanding is that if your sugar is higher, that is in the blood, you are going to need more insulin. If your insulin goes up, and if your liver is full of glycogen, you're going to convert the sugar into fat. So the response of insulin is very important in gaining weight, especially when you are trying to lose weight. So the glycemic index is an important indicator in the sense that if I would eat a sugar, the cane sugar, one which is either the brown or the white sugar that we commonly use, which is 1 molecule of glucose, 1 molecule of fructose, I'm going to increase my blood sugar to a certain extent. On the other hand, if I would take olive oil, let's say for example, I will drink it. And believe me, there are people who are making soups out of olive oil, so it's not impossible. The amount of blood sugar going up would be very little. So the response of the insulin is going to be much higher if I'm consuming regular sugar, soft soda containing sugar, either fructose or otherwise, desserts, cakes, candies. Compared to that, if I would be taking, say, broccoli, or if I would be eating lettuce, tomatoes, it is much less. If you remember that I might have talked about fasting and what could you eat as solid food without increasing the glucose level, one of them is tomatoes. So tomatoes do not cause much increase in the insulin level. Please remember that there are two spikes to the insulin level. One is as soon as you put the food in the mouth, and second is when you absorb. So insulin level does go up even when you put artificial sweetener in the mouth. But in any case, so glycemic index of a substance is important because it raises the blood glucose, and raised blood glucose will cause insulin response. The insulin response might become lipogenic in many people. But at the same time, you have to understand that you do need glucose. You need sugar to perform activities. So we have to balance our intake of things that are sugar containing or that are going to increase your blood sugar more than certain other stuff like fats or to some extent some proteins which are better. You could also alter the sugar elevation by combining the two things. For example, bagel is not the best for insulin, for the sugar elevation and in turn the insulin response. But if you would combine the bagel with not jelly but peanut butter, because of the delayed absorption in the stomach, the sugar response is blunted or not as high, and so the insulin response is lower. So these kind of combinations of two things that can go together can help one to avoid rise in insulin level which occurs because of high levels of glucose that occur. There are several websites where you can go and check out the glycemic index, and certainly we can avoid the foods that have a high glycemic index when we are not going to be doing any exercise or we don't need sugars to go up. So I wanted to tell you that in the same breath, certain foods, though, may have a high glycemic index, may be useful or may be needed when you are going to do significant exercise. Let's take for an example an apple and a banana or grapes. So if I would eat banana because it has more sugar, it has higher glycemic index, I would increase my blood sugar more, I would increase my insulin response. The apple, on the other hand, because it is full of fiber and other stuff, it does not have as high a glycemic response as the banana, or for that matter, grapes. But let's say that I am going to start jogging 2 or 3 or 4 miles, or going to do an exercise, say for example weightlifting or any other exercise like bicycling, where I need more calories. Under those circumstances, eating a banana instead of apple would be better because that sugar would be burnt. Now remember one thing, which is this is a very important factor. Every organ in our body needs insulin for burning the sugar except the muscles. So if I'm going to do a weightlifting or if I'm going to do a bicycling where I'm going to use lower extremity muscles, or I'm going to run, jog, or even for that matter walk fast or brisk walking, I'll need more sugar. And that sugar is burned by my muscles without needing insulin. So even for those people who are diabetic and want to burn sugar without having need for an insulin, the best way is to exercise if you would be taking a food that is high in glycemic index. So everything that I say has to be taken with a caution or with an advice that needs to be combined. I don't mean to say that you should never eat banana or grapes, but make sure that you're going to burn those calories quickly, otherwise insulin response will cause lipogenesis, which is fat production, and in turn will lead to a fat deposition. So we have to engage into certain activities. I mentioned this before to you that upper extremity muscles, the biceps, the triceps, or for that matter even deltoid, and the chest muscles, pecs or pectorals, are not very large muscles. Tricep is small, the bicep is okay, the deltoid and biceps. So these muscles do burn calories, and development of these muscles looks good on the body. But these are not the biggest muscle in our body. Our biggest muscle is a group of muscles in the front of our thigh, back of our thigh, and the gluteal muscles. And one needs to do more exercise of these muscles and develop them. So if you have a larger muscle mass of quadriceps, which are in the front of your thigh or gluteals, compared to bigger bicep, even at rest, these muscles are going to burn calories. And when you exercise, they will not allow the sugar to go up for those of us who are diabetic. So if you have a diabetes and you do leg muscle exercises, that will burn the sugar faster, quicker, without needing insulin, and then you can afford to eat before the exercise foods that are high in glycemic index. So I hope that this kind of explains some of the precautions and some of the help to modify your diet, and hope this will help you to have a good diet, mix and match with the glycemic index to reduce the glycemic index of certain food, and hope this will help on the long term for a healthy life, weight control, and sugar control. Thank you for watching. I hope you like this video and information. If you like it, please subscribe. Thank you. Have a nice day.